we're gonna cover the top 6 male shot putters of all time, and we're gonna start right now. What's up, everybody? It's Dane Miller from throwsuniversity.com, and if this is your first time to the channel and you're interested in learning about the sport of throwing, you want to become a better shot putter, you want to become a better discus thrower, you want to find out what you can do to improve your technique, make sure that you like, you subscribe, and you ring that notification bell so we can help you become a champion. So for the past couple months, we've been sitting here at Throws University just trying to figure out who are the top 10 shot putters of all time. And this is one of those barroom discussions that a lot of coaches tend to have. They turn into big, giant arguments, and no one really has a formula or an idea of who are those top 5 or top 6 shot putters of all time when we're talking about the men. And what we ended up doing is we laid out a list and we started to formulate, all right, let's take a measurement of how many Olympic medals an individual shot putter has. That next step, let's take a measurement. How many world championship outdoor medals does this individual have? How many world championship indoor medals does that individual have? How many world records potentially do they have? Do they have any historical significance on the sport? And then finally, after we sat there and accumulated all these points, we also created a hindrance number. So if you tested positive for steroids, you got deducted a certain amount of points. If you tested positive twice, you got deducted even more points. And so we tried to make this as fair as possible to break down this list. And before we even start, we've got to acknowledge that there's a lot of shot putters today, right now, that aren't on this list, but likely will be when their career is completely finished, when they're done throwing. So this is predominantly an old school list with one newbie, but we've got to go over. There is a system at play. We're ranking Olympic medals, we're ranking world championship indoor and outdoor medals, we're ranking world records, we're ranking significance in the sport. Did you do anything significant to really have a historical development? And then obviously we're going to take away any points from individuals who've tested positive for steroids either once or twice. So let's get started. Coming in at that number 6 spot, we've got Werner Gunthor, the Swiss Alp. So Werner Gunthor threw 22.75, and he also has 1 Olympic medal in the color of bronze. He's got 3 outdoor world championships. He's got 1 indoor world championship, and he's got 1 indoor silver medal for the world championships. And some of the stuff that we've got to think about with Werner Gunthor is just his presence. He was this huge individual. He was sort of that first big time thrower who was still a glider that wasn't from the Eastern Bloc. He wasn't from East Germany like Timmerman. He wasn't a Soviet. And he took all of these different training modalities and formulated a really powerful system with his coach, who's a phenomenal coach. He performed very, very well in 87, 89, 91. Now, 92 came, he should have become the Olympic champion in 1992, and he didn't bring home a single medal. In fact, he only got 4th in that 1992 Olympics. He has 3 outdoor world titles. He's got an indoor world title as well, and he is regarded as one of the best international competitors from a broad spectrum. He's very consistent, and a lot of his attributes, I believe, have been towards the sport of throwing after his career because of the training videos that he created with his coach or whoever else created them. He has these phenomenal videos. Now they're popping up all over YouTube, but I was fortunate enough to be exposed to these videos back in the late 90s by Paul Ferenczi, a world championship caliber Highland Games athlete. And Paul Ferenczi gave me these training videos from Werner Gunthor. They were all in French, and I was obsessed with them, so much so that I found a French teacher locally here in Pennsylvania who ended up translating them for me. I spent hours with her as she translated these French videos, and I could write everything down. And before I went to college, I did the entire 12-week program. So he's had a huge impact now because a lot of these videos will pop up on Instagram, they'll pop up on YouTube, and they have a very positive impact on bringing outsiders to the sport of shot put. And so he comes in at our number 6 spot. Coming in at that number 5 spot, we've got the man who owns the number 2 furthest throw in the history of the United States, and that's Joe Kovacs. So Joe has a PR of 22.91. He's an Olympic silver medalist. He's a 2-time world champion. And if you ask me, he owns the clean world record. He has thrown the absolute furthest out of everyone who has never taken anabolic steroids. Joe also hails from the great state of Pennsylvania, much like myself, and he graduated from my alma mater, Penn State University. So I've got a lot of love for Joe Kovacs. He's a local guy here in Pennsylvania, but on top of that, he's not the biggest individual. He's an individual that walks around about 6 feet tall, but he is huge. He's jacked. He's extremely strong, and he's a gamer. He's competed really, really well at 2 different world championships, and the biggest facet that I see is how he handled Doha. He won the hardest throws competition ever on his last throw. He was in 4th place and came out and ripped an absolute bomb at 22.91 and completely shocked the entire world of track and field. He shocked all the other throwers, Walsh, Crouser, and that solidified him for earning that number 5 spot on our ranking of our top 6 shot putters of all time. Coming in at that number 4 spot, we've got Perry O'Brien. This is an old school, a throwback. And Perry O'Brien invented the glide. So right there, right off the bat, we can see Perry O'Brien's historical significance. He created the glide. At the time, people were shuffling. They were doing crazy techniques. They were spinning in reverse ways. They were shuffling all over the place, and then they were throwing, and Perry O'Brien invented the glide. And one thing we've got to think about, his PR was 1969. That's freaking far for the time, and he's got 3 Olympic medals. He's a 2-time Olympic champ, a 1-time Olympic silver medalist. So on top of that, he's extremely good at competing at that Olympic stage. Now, when he was competing, there wasn't an indoor world championships, there wasn't an outdoor world championships, but he broke the world record 17 times. He was the first man to throw over 60 feet, and he was undefeated in 116 straight competitions. That is absurd. So he comes in at our number 4 spot. He invented the glide, 3 Olympic medals, one of the most consistent shot putters of all time, 116 straight meets without losing. That's absurd. It's unheard of. Perry O'Brien, he's our number 4 ranked shot putter of all time. Coming in at that number 3 spot, we've got Tomasz Majewski. So his PR, 21.95. He is a 2-time Olympic champ and a 1-time world indoor bronze medalist. And I think one of the biggest things here is that his PR was not absurdly far, but he won the Olympics in 2008. He won the Olympics in 2012 against stacked fields. These fields were loaded with really good shot putters. He could have easily been picked off. He wasn't known for being this huge hulking guy. He is big, 6'8", 6'9", but he's not as muscular as some of the other shot putters, but he games up when it counts. And the fact that he has 2 Olympic titles during this era, during 2008, during 2012, during the modern era. 2, he was a glider, which made it very unique. He and David Storrell were sort of that last holdover of those consistent gliders that could still pick off some of those top spinners. And then finally, it's nearly impossible to win the Olympics back-to-back in today's era. And we've got to realize it's hard to just make it to the Olympics. It's hard to make it to the Olympics and medal, and then to make it to the Olympics and medal twice and bring home the Olympic title twice. That shows you how consistent he was, how much of a gamer he was when it mattered, and that's why he comes in at our number 3 spot. Coming in at our number 2 ranked shot putter of all time. And remember, we're talking about Olympic titles, Olympic medals, World Championship indoor and outdoor medals. We're talking about historical significance. We're talking about drug busts. But here we've got that number 2 animal, Adam Nelson, with a PR of 22.51. There was very few shot putters who were as dominant as Adam Nelson was in the early 2000s. He burst onto the stage at the 2000 Olympic trials and didn't look back for over a decade. He was an absolute phenom, and much like Kovacs, he's not that big. He's that shot putter that gave shorter guys a hope, just like Kovacs. He likely inspired Kovacs to get into throwing and to keep chugging away as a shorter individual. He's not 6'9" like Majewski, but instead, he's a gamer. He brings the intensity. He brings the wood every single time he's ready to compete. In 2000, he won the Olympic silver medal. In 2004, he got hosed by a drug user, but ended up bringing that Olympic title back in 2004. In 2005, he was the world champ. 2001, 2003, 2007, he was a world outdoor silver medalist, and he was also a one-time world indoor silver medalist. He is loaded with medals, and he's got the 2 best ones, the Olympic championship title and the world title. And I believe he's inspired a generation of shot putters. He's one of those guys who was a personality. He took the sport of throwing and made it extremely entertaining. But he also brought sports science to the forefront. And one of the big impacts that he had on me is that after I had trained with Dr. Anatoly Bondarchuk, Adam Nelson called me up. He wanted to know what we were doing. He wanted to know how we were training with Dr. B, and he ended up picking my brain for months. And what was cool is that this is one of the best guys ever, but he was always willing to learn. And another factor that he did is that when we got to the point of the end of our work relationship, he also said, hey, Dane, go check out Charles Poliquin, see if you can work with Charles and learn a little bit more from him. And that was huge for me. It led me to continue to further my science-based training methodologies, and it helped me learn from Charles Poliquin, one of the best strength coaches to ever walk the planet. And that's something that I still hold very dearly, is that Nelson was willing to give me a chance personally. He was willing to listen to what I was doing with one of the greatest track coaches of all time, Dr. Anatoly Bondarchuk, and then in turn, he was willing to help me continue my education so I could become a much better coach. So I am a little favorable to him, but you can't deny he's got Olympic silver, he's got Olympic gold, he's got 4 world silver medals, he's got that world gold. He is the number 2 shot putter of all time. Coming at that number 1 spot, he's got a PR of 22.20. So a lot of you might be thinking, well, who's got a PR of 22.20 and can be the number 1 shot putter on the planet? That can't be. He's got an Olympic silver medal, an Olympic bronze medal. He's got 3 outdoor world championship golds. He's got a world indoor gold. He's got 2 world indoor silvers. He's got a world indoor bronze medal. And finally, he's the owner of the NCAA shot put record, and that is John Godina. And again, we've got to remember, we are adding up Olympic medals, world championship medals, historical significance. He's got that NCAA record, and what he did consistently throughout his career. Godina was trained by Art Venegas, and his success was phenomenal. To win Olympic medals, especially in 96 and 2000, but in 96, if you just look at the list of the shot putters that competed at that Olympic championship and how many of them tested positive for steroids, and he was still capable of bringing home an Olympic medal. And on top of that, he continued that for the next decade. World championship after world championship, winning gold or silver consistently. He and Adam Nelson went head to head over and over and over again, and that provided this huge blow up in the sport of shot put in the United States. I grew up in that era where I could look up to Godina, to Nelson, and just see what they were doing, and everybody wanted to be the next John Godina. Everybody wanted to be the next Adam Nelson. And that historical significance is also paramount to this ranking, along with the fact that his NCAA record still stands today, and that's why John Godina comes in at that #1 spot. If you can find me someone that has as many international medals as John Godina, we'll be wrong. But you won't be able to do that, and that's why John Godina is the #1 shot putter of all time. If you want more information about shot put based training and discus based training, you can head over to throwsuniversity.com and pick up a specially designed strength training program. If you want more information about shot put videos, you can click on this card right here. Until next time, guys, peace.